Good evening, and thank you for joining us for this zoning meeting. If you can please mute yourselves when you come in so we don't hear the background noise, that will be great. We'll give you an opportunity to unmute yourselves and ask questions a little bit later. If you would like to ask a question or say something, please raise your hand, and you do that with the raised hand icon at the bottom of your screen. And my name is Mari Carmen Heroles. I'm with Communication Services. And for questions, again, you raise your hand. For translation services, if you want to hear this in Spanish, si quiere escuchar esta reunión en español, por favor, pulse en el icono del mundo que se encuentra en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Una vez que esté ahí, presione el idioma español para escuchar esto en español. Si por alguna razón no funciona, salga y vuelva a intentarlo. Si tiene algún problema, por favor, háganoslo saber a través del chat, que también se encuentra en la parte inferior de su pantalla, y trataremos de ayudarlos. Esto no funciona en los Chromebooks, así que si puede utilizar una computadora PC o con un sistema de iOS, es más fácil poder ingresar a la interpretación. It is my pleasure to introduce Principal Patrice Lane, who is the principal for Geneva Heights. Ms. Lane, do you want to say a few words?
No, I don't have very much to say. I just want to welcome everyone tonight, and I'm glad that we're all here this evening.
Great. And now let me introduce our Chief of Construction, Brent Alfred. Is there anything, Chief, that you would like to say?
Hey, thank you, Mayor Carmen. No, I'm just excited to be here. This has been quite a journey. And as promised, we're keeping you guys involved every step of the way. This is just another milestone. I know you see us out there demoing the buildings. Now we, hopefully by January, we'll be going vertical. So we'll stay posted, and I'll pass back to you, Mayor Carmen.
Great, thank you. And I see we do also have Trustee Dustin Marshall with us tonight. Thank you for joining us, Trustee Marshall. Is there anything you'd like to say to the community joining us today?
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm thrilled to see so many folks on the call. It's been great throughout this process to see such community involvement, and I see tonight is no exception. So I'm happy to be here to listen in and to advocate on behalf of the community in any way that I can. Thanks.
Great. And now I'd like to introduce Carl Crowley, who's a project manager with this project, and he will take it from here. Carl?
Good evening. Thank you all for participating in this meeting. My name is, as Mary Carmen said, is Carl Crawley. I'm with Master Plan. We're the zoning and land use consulting firm, one of several for the DISD in this bond program. And we're going to have a presentation tonight, the zoning related presentation to go over the proposed school. And then, as was mentioned, we'll have a question and answer period at the end. I'm going to ask Plan Commissioner Melissa Kingston is on the call if she'd like to say a few words, and then we'll turn it back to me and I'll introduce the architects. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Melissa Kingston. I know most of you probably know me or will get to know me. I am the appointed Plan Commissioner for this district. And the purpose of the meeting and kind of the subject of what we're talking about tonight is the school district zoning application. This school is sitting on land that is zoned residential, which is not uncommon with our older buildings in Dallas, in particular our older schools. And once the decision was made to demolish the existing building, they had to come in and get the proper zoning. And what that entails is matching up the community's vision for this campus with the legal zoning documents that the city requires in order to, eventually issue a building permit. And so right now, the district has filed an application with the city to get the proper type of zoning. And that will be considered by the Dallas City Plan Commission probably this month or next month. And then from there, if it passes, then it goes to city council for consideration. And if it passes there, then the district is able to get its building permit and get working on the campus. And so what I was hoping to accomplish tonight is I want to make sure that the zoning is matching what was promised by the district for this community and what this community has spent a very long time and a long process in sort of imagining what this campus is going to look like and how it integrates itself into its existing community. And there are also, I see some names of folks who are not necessarily parents, but neighborhood association leaders who have a long history of looking at these type of applications and weighing in on them to ensure that, the community that surrounds a school also has the protections it needs from the operations of the school. There's a saying that neighborhoods need good schools and schools need to be good neighbors. And so that's really the function of what I'm trying to accomplish tonight. And from there, I'm going to let Mr. Crawley start with the presentation, and we'll do some question and answer, and then I may have some follow-up questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Kingston. So I was going to introduce Ann Hildebrand, who is from the architecture firm BRW. Her and Abby Hiles are here to go over the presentation. So Ann, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Carl. Happy to be here this evening. Excited to show you the design of Geneva Heights. And as Carl said, I'm Ann Hildebrand with BRW Architects, and I'm joined with Abby Hiles, the project manager. We brought our anticipated timeline and where we are currently with the design of the school. So this past summer, the school district moved the students and staff to the former Gillstone Elementary School so that the abatement and demolition of the existing school could start this fall. It has started. It is currently underway, and we anticipate it to be complete this year. And as Brent said, we anticipate to start construction of the new school next year and be completed in the spring of 2024 so that the students can start school there in August of 2024. This is the site plan. We are demolishing most of the building. Currently, there is a two-story 1930s building, the original building, that will remain. And it is on the east side of the site. And our addition will be a two-story addition. That classroom two-story addition is on the north side facing Vanderbilt. We also have a new gym, a kitchen, music spaces, and dining and performance space addition that is the south side, along with a new main entrance that will face Goodwin Avenue and also have a secure entry at that point. We are leaving the parking and staff and visitor parking on the west side of the site, closest to Matilda. And there'll be a field left over for soccer, multi-purpose field. We're adding a brand new courtyard with outdoor learning opportunities. And we'll also have basketball court and two playgrounds for the older, and one for the older and one for the younger kids. And that is all on the west side. And then we're preserving the east side. That's east of that existing two-story building. We're preserving that area that will be used. It'll all get fenced in with an ornamental fence and be available for the community to do the master gardens that they have had in the past. This is an aerial view from the southeast corner. This is overlooking to the right. You see that existing two-story 1930s building. It's in an Art Deco style. And to the left is the new main entry, kind of the bottom center of the screen. This is another view from the street, from the south side of the site.
Mom, look.
Just another closer in view, and you see the accessibility is provided there as well at the main entrance. This is looking from the parking lot side back to the new gymnasium, which also serves as the storm shelter for the school. And then the playgrounds are there on the left. The playgrounds will have coverings, shade structures that you see typical for DISD playgrounds. We didn't include it here just so you could see the architecture in these renderings. And then this is a view of the internal. This is completely internal. It's secure. The internal courtyard that has play and exercise and outdoor learning opportunities. And what you see in the background is the two-story classroom addition. And then this is just a fly-through over the site. Bringing you around there on the west is Matilda and the parking lot. And then that in the forefront is the gymnasium and the play field and playgrounds. And now we're flying over the internal courtyard. And that's your existing building that will remain. And then now we're inside the courtyard, moving to the west, looking at the classroom addition. And we're gonna swing through. This is the connector corridor, all inside space. It's also works as a collaboration space. This is the basketball court and the two play fields, which will have shade structures over them. And that concludes our presentation of the design. And I will give it back to Carl at this point.
And can you go to the next slide?
Yeah.
Part of the zoning requirements for the city of Dallas for schools is a traffic management plan. And y'all live in the neighborhood, you know better than I do, or even the traffic engineer who did the study on this. Obviously, residential streets surrounding it, the school's been there since the 30s at least. So it's very limited what we can do with a very small site. A normal elementary school may have 8 acres, and this has a lot less than obviously 8 acres. And then the schools now have to have bigger requirements, TEA requirements for classrooms are bigger. So obviously the school has gotten larger footprint on the site. So what we've done is there'll still be there'll still be one-way streets going around the school during pickup and drop-off times. There'll be 2 locations for pickup. One on Vanderbilt, one on Goodwin. The idea is you can divide the students into 2 different groups, so then they can load in cars a little quicker. The queue on Vanderbilt will go through the parking lot and then back onto Vanderbilt, and then the queue on Goodwin will come off of Del Mar and pick up and drop off on Goodwin. Otherwise, it's a lot like it is today. There is a little more room to queue a little bit more through that parking lot. So that may relieve it, but be honest, there's not a whole lot you can do with traffic management with a site like this. So the traffic engineers come up with this. The staff has reviewed it. We did a couple little tweaks to it. We really don't want to queue on Matilda because it's a collector and has a little more traffic on it. And we didn't want to put any queue line through the front of the school. That's a big lawn and is an important factor for the neighborhood. So let me go over what the zoning was mentioned by Commissioner Kingston. The zoning proposed for this is a planned development district, which means the rules will be written for this school. There'll be no others rules for no other district in Dallas that'll have the same rules. It'll be based on a development plan, which is, if you can see the grayed out area on this, that's the outline of the school, shows the parking. The parking is per code. The height of the building will be limited to 2 stories. As Ann showed you, the gymnasium is a little taller, as gymnasiums are. And in this case, the gymnasium will act as a storm shelter, which are now required for schools, new schools. So that will be a storm shelter designed for the capacity of the build out capacity for the school. Currently, there's approximately 500 kids at the school. That will probably likely be about the same size when they move back in August of 24. The school is designed for 750 kids, which is a little bit less than what has been designed in this bond program, from my experience, for elementary school, which is about the 800 to 850 range. There's just not enough room to put that many classrooms on this site and have any play space left over. So the school is designed for 750. If the enrollment does go above the 500 that's in there, and it fluctuates from year to year up and down, there's no anticipated jump to go to another 250 kids, but there's room to expand. If there are more kids put in this school, the traffic management plan is required to be updated every 2 years, and that enrollment will take in place at that time. And then the queuing will be looked at again to see if there's maybe another way to do it to absorb some of the traffic from those other kids that may come to the school. Otherwise, as I mentioned, or Commissioner Kingston mentioned, this school likely will not go this month just because those agendas have pretty much been set. They only meet, the Plan Commission meets the 6th and the 13th of this month. They usually meet the 1st and 3rd, but this month they'll meet the 1st and 2nd Thursdays of the month. So the hope is that this will go in November, and then go to the city council hopefully in December or January at the very latest. Obviously, we need the zoning in place to get the building permit. They have submitted for the building permit. It's in review. They submitted for the engineering, and it's also in review. And as Chief Alford mentioned, and y'all know, the demolition of the existing schools has already begun. And I guess if you have any questions, Ann can answer about the 31 and what's the 1931 building and what's happening with that. But obviously the exterior will remain there, and they'll gut the interior. And I guess that's all I have. And I guess I don't know if anyone, Mary Carmen, has anyone raised their hand? If not, I guess we can start questions and answers.
Yeah, no one has raised their hand, but please feel free to raise your hand, or if you want to put your question in the chat, we'll read that out loud. We do have a couple people now. Beth Bentley, if you want to unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, I know on the front lawn along Delmar, there's a lot of older trees. Is there anything to preserve those trees? Anything written into the PD?
I'll go at it from one direction, and Ann can go at it, and maybe Ann could show the landscape plan. I probably could find it, but that may be something she has to dig up. The city of Dallas, there are going to be some trees that obviously will have to be removed throughout. Obviously it's a new building, and there'll be some trees moved. Majority of the trees in the front will be saved. There is a plan, a protection plan that the city has. It's in their code. It's already been implemented, I believe. is I haven't been out there in a while. I'm assuming Ann or Abby, the protection is around those trees already in place, and those trees will be saved as much as possible. Is that correct, Ann?
Yes, those trees that are existing today along Delmar, we're saving those trees and protecting them during construction.
So, those will have to be saved throughout construction, and they'll remain in place.
Does that include any Bradford pears?
There are no Bradford pears in that side of the.
Okay.
We have a question in the chat from James Hall. Has any work been done on the contingency traffic plan if enrollment goes from 500 to 750?
Well, as I mentioned, we're very limited on options and stuff. The traffic engineer has looked at that, but there's not 750 kids there today. The plan was put in place for the number of kids there today. There are plans that we could queue. I don't really want to get into other streets, but you could queue on both sides of Goodwin, and there are other options and stuff. There's just not a whole lot of good options, to be honest with you. And I don't see it, the first plan will be reviewed in November after the school opens in March, like 6 months later. And then we'll have an idea of if this plan works. I tell people this plan looks good on paper, but you put children and caregivers and cars into it, and it may have to be reevaluated after 6 months, just because we've gone back to some schools that have been a certain way in new schools, and we put it in a plan on paper, and then we reevaluate it in 6 months and do a new plan. So those plans are always in a state of evaluation. The Dallas Department of Transportation reviews them. If they have complaints or problems, they're out there reviewing them. They can do a lot of things with signage and stuff. And then obviously, if we have some problems, there's enforcement that can be done either by the DISD or the Dallas Police. So.
Thank you. Brett Skillingstad, you have your
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes, thank you. So the city of Dallas is currently experiencing tremendous delays in the permitting process. And you mentioned that the plans won't be begun to be reviewed until the zoning has been approved. Has the schedule for the construction from the general contractor incorporated this into the overall project schedule to have completion done by the spring of 24? And further to that, has the general contractor begun ordering such long lead items as HVAC systems, electrical switchgear, chillers, generators, all these different items that have in excess of 12-month lead times right now?
I'll chime in on that. The city has begun permitting reviewing what they can until zoning is approved. It went through ZRT. We plan on it going to CPC in November, and then, like I say, council in December. So they hedged a little bit with us on some of the interiors. So we're hoping that to expedite the permit review process. As far as our general contractor, we just recently bid this contract. We're taking it to our board actually this month in October to get it approved. So no, he has not ordered any materials yet or long lead items, but we are tracking. That's one of the first activities once he gets on board, we'll have him do.
Okay, and we have a question from Sean, and that was another question that was in the chat. So if that answered your question, Lisa, let us know. If not, I'll read it again. Sean Ward wants to know, we currently live on the corner of Del Mar and Vanderbilt. There are issues with parents parking on our lawn because there is no curb built. Can we get a curb added?
Well, that's really not in the district's purview to add a curb to the other side of the street. I guess we can work with the city and because obviously they're not supposed to park in your lawn, but across the street from the school is really not in the district's purview to improve that part of the street. But that's not knowing that was a problem. We have some contacts in in engineering and in transportation, and I'll let them know that that's an issue.
And Lydia, right, you have your hand up if you want to unmute and ask your question.
Yes, thank you. I'm a parent and PTA president this year. I'm happy with the plans for the school. You know, I really want anything that can be done to be expedited and moved faster, as we're already sitting in our temporary building right now and seeing construction starting hopefully in January is a little, you know, worrisome. But my main concern is I would like to know more about the outdoor learning and master gardens in the front. I know we brought this up last year, and I don't think there's been a major plan made for that. We do have a master gardener who'd helped us in the past, and I think we really want to utilize as much of that space as we can for gardening. I do know one thing, when I got feedback from him last year looking at it, he was concerned about how shady it was, and that if we're going to make it a true learning space for our kids, we may need to remove one of the smaller trees so that we can garden. But I just wondered what, the plan is there and how we can get more involved. Thank you.
Ann, do you want to try that one, Ann?
I don't know the answer to that question. We have, like I said before, we planned for the master gardens to be on the east side. There's other opportunities on the site for it to occur.
Well, I think we're happy with the east side. I just didn't want any final plans to be made without us getting some input and our master gardener involved. So that's not happening today, right? Those final decisions about what will be used in that green space up there.
No, I think, Ann, you just reserved that spot for that function and really haven't. That's really not in your purview. It's more of the school's purview. When you'll leave them a nice space. I did notice most of the trees in front are very large trees, so that makes it a little more difficult to create sunlight, so shade. But I don't know what the answer to that removing trees.
Okay, and it's not like we're hoping to remove
No,
trees. I just
no, I'm sure. Yeah.
Want to make sure we can make it successful for our children, since that's a lot of our space.
Well, and kind of piggybacking off of that, I'm looking at the development plan, and currently it just designates all of it as sod. Is there an updated development plan that indicates where the gardens will be? There's some white boxes on the development plan that are unlabeled. I couldn't tell if those were utility infrastructure or raised beds or what.
Well, I don't know if, and normally gardens of that nature would not be shown on the development plan just because they're not structures. And again, if this, not being the master gardener is going to lay it out, or the school, the principal and the school is going to lay it out, and the parents, we just left it as a green space. Won't have sidewalks, although you could add sidewalks as you lay out the garden and stuff. Probably not concrete, but pathways, I'll call them.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, we just left it as an open space. And as I mentioned, gardens aren't structures, so they won't have to be shown on the plan because they won't be permitted in that sense.
Do you have the landscape plan that you could pull up? Because there are things that appear to be structures, but they're not labeled.
Ann may be able to. I don't have it that I can pull up.
You're gonna go on while Anne looks for that. Another question in the chat. I'm curious why this is just now being presented to the zoning committee and why it can't be expedited. Did the building plans just get finalized?
No, I responded to that in the chat. We submitted back in March, and this is the duration we planned for. I mean, we knew it would take 6 to 9 months, and we are tracking that duration with it going to CPC November and council December. Now, if it doesn't, then we'll push back that month, but I still think we have a good opportunity to open fall of 2024.
Okay.
Okay, I just that answer doesn't really exude a lot of confidence when you say, "I hope we can get in by 2024." It just
No,
blows my mind that an
we
application
will get in.
sent
Yeah.
in March has not been considered yet, and if that just seems crazy to me. But I mean, if there is a problem with it, we're gonna, what if there is a problem? Is it another 2 months to redo, resubmit, go to this committee, and then another month to go to the city council? I mean,
No,
that's really concerning.
Yes, ma'am. We will make 2024. Let me give you some more confidence. This project is headed in the right way. We have some things that are out of our control, but we put a lot of contingency plans in place to make sure we make it. Like I say, with this building, the current schedule, we have a 16-month duration to build a building. That has us finishing in May of 2024. We still have June, July, June and July to kind of buffer us from any slippage with the city or other things we can't control.
And Jamie, this is Dustin. I would just add to that there is the possibility of us, getting involved from an advocacy perspective with the city council and the powers that be at the city if we slip and fall behind schedule, and we're not there yet. But if that happens, then there will be several of us that get involved to get us back on track. So I'm not.
Okay, thanks. That's kind of the point of my question is like, and me, I'm pretty chill about this stuff usually, but I'm just wondering if there's anything, if advocacy if yelling about it would help, and if we don't need to do that, if we're on track, that makes sense, and if we get off track, then we'll yell. Okay.
Yeah, I think at this point we're on track, and there's not a need for advocacy, but there have been times in the past when the city expedites things on behalf of the district at the request of council members, and if we needed to go down that path, we could.
Okay, great. Now that context helps. And of course, we get questions all the time. Not everyone understands the construction process, and I thought I did, but this is kind of surprising that just to be able to answer that and give the context as to why we are where we are and that we are on track is helpful. So, thanks.
Well, and I can say this hasn't come up through CPC yet, so it's on the course that it was always going to be on. I'm very committed to getting this done as quickly as possible, as long as the district gets me the information I need so we can finalize the zoning materials. I'm trying very hard not to hold it so that we're not the delay on our end. Frankly, I think your biggest delay is probably going to be permitting. It's not going to be council or CPC.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
And I think we now have the image that we were looking for. So if there are any questions related to that, I think Ms. Kingston, you had some questions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just asking, what are those structures on the northeast corner? What is that?
These are reserved for storage sheds that have shrubs that are a buffer around them. And then all of these are the existing trees with some additional smaller tree plantings around the edges.
Can you give me some more detail about the storage sheds? Size, use?
It's for the gardeners to use. It's a typical residential storage shed size.
Okay. Is there a reason why between, say, now and when the landscaping is done, there can't be a greater effort to coordinate with the master gardeners in the school community to put in the beds and stuff that they envision using instead of sod from the beginning?
Brent, I think that's something we could get involved in on the district side and take care of, isn't it?
Repeat the question. I was typing in the chat.
She was asking about coordinating the master garden layout to ensure that the beds are installed and that it's teed up the way that the school community and the master gardener want, rather than just having it all be sod.
Yeah, you can coordinate with us. And I also, a couple of weeks ago, met with a group called Cool Schools. If you're familiar with that program.
Oh, yeah, very familiar. But Melissa, I think the answer to your question is yes. So we can take that offline. But I don't know that that's going to fall into Carl's responsibility, which is why he probably gave the answer he did.
No, I just, I don't see the sense in doing landscaping, then coming back in and redoing it.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, thank you for addressing that.
The sod is really a placeholder for runoff and other things. I can't just leave it as dirt, obviously. So yeah, it can be replaced with gardens or whatever. It's just a timing deal.
Okay, another question in the chat. With the 2 new wings, is there an RPS residency proximity slope in place in the PD? Comment, I guess.
Yeah, residential proximity slope. Yes, you got it right. The gymnasium to the south side, which is, I guess, can you point to that, Ann or Abby,
Yes.
where it is? Yeah. Right there. That at the height that it is, which is 30-ish feet or so, right? 35-ish, normal gymnasium, would not comply with the residential proximity slope. Pretty much everything else will, because it's not above 26 or so feet in height. So we've written out the RPS on that side of the site for that reason, because it won't work otherwise. Now, there is some discussion on that with the city on if we have to, but we've gone ahead and done that. So I think that answers. That's the only RPS issue. The existing building is not, and none of the other buildings are really above that.
And somebody had their hand up, but I don't see it now. So if you want to ask a question, please raise your hand and we'll call your name or put it into the chat.
Aaron Clark.
Yeah, that was me. It was addressed. It was an add-on question regarding the gardens, but I was just typing into the chat. There was a mention of those sheds, and one of the things in the move, we had 2 sheds that we lost. Will those be replaced by the district? Because they didn't move them or wouldn't move them to the temporary location. So with those on the plans, will those be replaced? Or is that just a placeholder?
Can't answer that one, sorry.
So Abby, will you answer that question about the 2 sheds?
Yes, so the shed structures that we show in the new plan are shown just as placeholders. They are not part of the contractor's scope of work as they're building the new building. We just allocated the space for them.
Okay.
So they could be new, purchased by the district as or by the school as a separate project.
Yeah, Brent, if we tore down sheds that the community had there that the school was using, we need to put them back. So the answer is yes.
Yeah, noted.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
This is not a question, but more of a comment that the parents will be very interested in helping with plans for the garden area. So please keep them involved. Is the request.
Yeah, we definitely will. That will all be choreographed through the principal.
Great.
And sorry, I have one more question. If I don't think there are any others that had come in yet, but I noticed on the southwest corner of the campus over by the soccer fields, a structure whenever y'all did the overview earlier. What is that structure? Is that where the dumpsters will be placed?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's 2 dumpsters and then that stuff above it, is that mechanical up there?
Yes.
That plan there? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. If nobody else has questions, I have a few more. Are there any plans to have outdoor amplified sound? And if so, can you describe what those plans are?
No plans.
Okay. Can you describe,
I equate that to, obviously the bell system can be heard outside and things of that, and warnings, but no, nothing else.
okay. Can you describe what the lighting is going to be in terms of perimeter lighting and off structure lighting, and how that might impact surrounding homes?
Is Bruce still on here? If not, and the parking lot will have lights on them. They're about what, 25-ish feet high,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
They have photo cells. They come on when it gets dark. They have a timer, so they're not on overnight. But they're shut off type fixtures which point down, light the parking lot, really for safety in the parking lot. Then I'm not aware of any other pole lighting. Is there, Ann, any other pole lighting besides the
No.
parking lot?
Yeah, there's just lighting in the soffits at the entrances. Also,
Right, but no separate pole lights or anything.
no.
And then those would be security lights, and again, they're pointing down, so there won't be glare. They're called cutoff fixtures. And I guess pretty much all are LED fixtures. Is that right, Ann?
Yes.
Are there any lit signs or any uplighting anticipated?
There is a marquee sign, which is in the northwest corner. You can sort of see it on the landscape plan there, that little sort of rectangle there, which is just a marquee sign that'll have, it has a message board on it to keep parents informed of what's going on at the school. It's a fairly standard one. I think this is one of the shorter versions. Is that right, Ann? It's like 8 or 10 feet high. They have some that go 20 feet high, and that's not this one, I don't think. So that, and I don't know the timing on that. People have asked me, and it may be on 24 hours, but again, it may go off again when on a timer. I don't know how that works on the marquee signs. I'll find out. Van doesn't know, or Brent don't know.
So it's a freestanding pole marquee sign?
No, it's a monument sign. It's on the ground. It's not a pole.
It's a 10-foot tall monument sign?
I don't know if that one's 10 feet tall. Ann, do you know how tall that one is?
It's not on the ground. It is on a structure. It's up in the air. So because of all the trees, you wouldn't be able to see it if it was down low. The height
we'll make sure you have a elevation of it.
That would be great. And you don't have any other video boards attached to the building?
No.
No.
I think maybe my last question, what is the district doing in order to comply with CCAP, which is our climate action plan? What are the green building features that'll be incorporated into this project?
Well, Ann, why don't you go over what we have to comply with building code wise or energy code wise, and then we'll go from there.
I will let Abby answer this. She can answer it in more detail.
Tough question, Abby.
Generally, it's we have to do a CHIPS design to comply with the City of Dallas Green Building Code. And most of those points come from building an energy efficient envelope. And then also from reducing the amount. We also have reflective surfaces on the roof and the parking. But that is most of it, is that.
Are there any plans to incorporate
lighting and HVAC systems?
Are there any plans to incorporate any water recycling or solar or any other green building standards that are in the CCAP?
No, there's not currently, but that can be added by the school.
What would you add if you were looking to add more green building features?
What would I add personally? Yeah. I haven't thought of that. We were complying with the current CHIPS.
Okay. Well, we can talk about that offline. CCAP's over 2 years old now, so, you know, every applicant has to comply with it, and
Well, obviously, if every applicant has to comply, and I assume that's put in place at the permitting stage. So then obviously we'll have to comply with it. Because we're not asking for any variances for any permitting or anything else.
I understand that. We can talk about that offline. Does anybody else from the community have any questions, concerns? Ways that this is going to impact the surrounding homes that anybody wants to address? Now's the time for us to get it right. All right, well, I'm going to give you guys my phone number and my email. So if you think of something and you want to email me, you can. My phone number is 214-642-1366. And my email is mkingston@fflawoffice.com. And I'm going to put it in the chat right now. And this is a short meeting. Good. I don't have anything else unless somebody else does.
Friends,
So
did you want
there is one hand up. Jamie,
Yeah, I just have a quick question. I'm not sure this is the right place for it, but we live on Vanderbilt. We noticed this morning that the school zone lights have trash bags over them now, and again, if it's not the right group, if you can just direct me to who is. We're pretty concerned so we have a lot of issues of people driving too fast anyway, and we have 3 buses full of children who are driving to or walking to the school to be transported to the temporary campus. So we'd like to advocate to keep the school zone intact. Who is that? Who would I? Or who
let me put your, if you don't mind, put your contact in the chat, and I guess we record the chat. I'll talk to transportation. There are some rules about the school not being a school and school zones, but there may be some other way to do it. Around the bus pickup drop off type time. They covered it up because the school doesn't exist for right now. But they probably don't understand that there is still a pickup and drop off situation going on. So we may be able to get the trash bags removed, shall we say.
Okay, thank you.
So that makes sense because you still got kids there. It's just a modified kind of thing. It doesn't, not everything fits in the right, check boxes, but there's probably a way to do it.
That's exactly what I figured, that it's something, just not realizing how much student activity is still there. So I just wanted to bring it up. Okay.
Yeah, great. The rules are, if you got a school, you can have a school zone. If you don't have a school, you can't get a school zone. Well, they saw the school's gone away. So.
Yeah.
And a comment in the chat, speaking of school zones, our new school needs more signage. We are now in a very heavy traffic area. So where do we suggest we?
Sure. The city of Dallas requires now that when anybody does a public works project, you provide a signage plan, a street sign plan, which they do an inventory of all the signs that are out there. A traffic engineer has to sign it and seal it. Any suggested signs, the city comes back with other signs. If signs have to be upgraded, there's now different stop signs. They have a reflective taper on the outside. There's different signs. They have to be upgraded to the new standards of signs. And then obviously if there's more signs that have to be put in place, then the contractor or be part of the school district's duty to do that. And obviously the school zones will be reactivated when the school opens.
I think maybe she means.
Carl, I think the question was about. Yeah, sorry, Carl. I think the question was about where the kids are now, rather than the Geneva Heights building. As an answer to that question, if you want to send me an email with details about that, I'll coordinate with the city to see if we can get some additional signage. The signage is, is a city item, but I can probably get you in touch with the right folks if you want to send me an email.
No, and I can, if you can't, I know the right people at the city, obviously, to we'll work with that.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Are there any other questions? Anything else? If not, I would like to, okay, Ms. Kingston apparently has another question.
Yeah, I got a question. Can you go over what renovations are going to happen to the existing building, and if they involve exterior renovations, what those are?
Yes, the existing building is going to be gutted on the inside. So all the interior walls and doors and mechanical and electrical plumbing systems are being removed. And we're going back with new finish out on the inside, new HVAC system, and also replacing the windows and cleaning that facade.
Do you have samples of the windows you intend to use?
I do not have samples available.
Photographs, the description of the windows.
I don't have it right at hand, but we can certainly send that to you.
Okay. And are you replacing the doors also?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I had a couple of different people in the community ask about that. So if you could get that to me, that would be super helpful.
Okay, are there other questions? Ms. Wright, you have your hand raised? Is it
Yes.
still or new? Okay.
No, it's new. Just Melissa made me think of one other thing. On the front of our building, when we were renamed Geneva Heights, they placed that piece of metal there with our new name on it. I'm just wondering if that'll be redone and done right well, or if they can, I don't know, etch out Robert E. Lee and put in our name, but it just seems kind of, it was a good fix, but it doesn't seem like it was the best permanent thing on this $30 million building.
Yes, we are removing that sign, and we're going to remove the Robert E. Lee, and we're putting back new signs for the school.
Okay, thank you very much.
And there's a question in the chat about when the next meeting is scheduled.
I'm not, on my end, I'm not sure there needs to be another meeting. I think the remainder of this I can work out with Carl and the district.
Yeah, and the hearing, if you got a postcard from us about this meeting, that means you would live within 500 feet of the school. And you will get a letter from the city of Dallas approximately 2 weeks before that hearing, whenever it is, probably hopefully in November, but you'll get a notice in the mail from the city of Dallas. You'll also get another notice in the mail before it goes to city council. And then obviously it's advertised in the newspaper also. So that's the public hearing portions.
Right. If there are no other questions, I would like to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Oh, I guess there is another question. Are you clapping or asking?
Sorry, I was trying to raise my hand and I have another question. I was the one that asked about when the next meeting is. I guess I missed a few of them between this one and when I was on in November of 2021. So I'm not really sure what phase of design this is in. I guess I got a postcard, so I do live within 500 feet of the school on Vanderbilt. So can you advise what phase of design this project is in?
Yeah, we're 100% complete with design. It's going through
Okay.
the zoning. It's going through zoning and permitting now.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, that answers my question.
Any other questions? All right. So thank you, everyone.
I just have another one. Sorry.
Okay.
Is there anywhere online where we can see like the colors and the renderings of what the building's going to look like?
Yeah, all of these meetings have been posted to Dallas ISD's website. Let me see if I can find it and put it in the chat. You can see the previous meetings, and this meeting will also be posted there.
Okay.
It should be, it's dallasisd.org/bond 2020, and then you just go to the different projects and you can click on this one, and it should be updated, and we will have this recording there as well. Any other questions? All right. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. If you do have any other questions, people share their emails, and we will have this again in the project site for this school. We'll have this recorded meeting, and any other pertinent information and any updates will be placed there. And is there any, Trustee Marshall, any closing words you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think it's been a good conversation. I appreciate the questions and the input, and I'm grateful to Melissa for pushing things along. So feel free to reach out, everybody, if you have anything else, but otherwise I appreciate the engagement. Have a good night.
Right. Chief Alfred, anything you'd like to say?
No, thank you. My takeaway from tonight, we are on schedule. It's been a journey. We're going to continue to be on schedule. And if things change, we will call a meeting and inform everyone. So thank you, guys.
Great. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us tonight and contributing to the conversation. And we'll keep you posted on future meetings and future updates about Geneva Heights. Thank you, and have a fantastic rest of your evening.